So hi everybody. So now we will be talking about the properties of real numbers, and our goal is to identify and use properties of real numbers. So there are several properties of real numbers that we are going to talk about, and so here they are. So the first thing is commutative property. So when we talk about commutative property, when you change the order of addends or factors, it does not change the sum or the product. So for example, if I have 3 plus 4, even if I have 4 plus 3, the answer will still be the same, right? It's still going to be 7 for both sides. So that is what commutative property means. Same thing for multiplication. So if you have 2 times 5, that's going to be 10. It's going to be the same as 5 times 2, and that's also 10. All right. So the next property is what we call as the associative property. In this time, associative property, the change of grouping of the addends or factors, it does not change the sum or the product. So if I have, for example, 2 plus, I am grouping 3 and 4 together, okay? This is just the same as grouping 2 and 3 together and then adding 4, okay? If you do this, okay, this left side, this 3 plus 4 is 7, and you add 2, that's going to give you 9. On the other side, if you have 2 and 3 grouped together, that's going to be 5 plus 4, and you can see that that's going to be 9 as well. So changing the grouping when you are adding or adding or multiplying stuff, it's going to be just the same values. All right. We also have what we call as the identity property of addition. So in this case, any number that you add to 0, it will result to the original number. So that's why it's called identity property. It keeps the number. So any number that you add with 0, so let's say we have 2 plus 0, it's still going to be 2. It retains the same number. Multiplication also has the same thing, identity property of multiplication. So in this case, the product of any number, and if you multiply it by 1, it will still give you the original number. So let's say you have 5 times 1, the answer will still be 5. So identity properties, they keep the original number, okay? And then we have the zero product property. So any number that you multiply to 0 is going to be 0, okay? So if you have the number 23, you multiply it to 0, that's just going to be 0, even if you have a million, all right? And then we also have what we call as the multiplication property of -1. So the product of -1 and a number n is always -n. So if your number is 45 and you multiply it by -1, it could be -45, or it could be the other way around. You are given -45, you can split it up into +45 and -1. Oops, sorry, my bad. Yep, we're done with that one. So what property is illustrated by each statement? So we have 42 times 0 equals 0. Well, because the answer is 0 here, then we know that this is going to be the 0 property. Okay. Next, we have the group of y plus 2.5 plus 28 is equal to y plus the group of 2.5 and 28. Now, as you can see, your grouping got switched, and so this is our associative property. All right. The next one, we have 10x plus 0. The answer is 10x. So if you're going to notice, this is different from this first one. Why? Because you are adding 0. And when you add 0, what happens to the answer? It is the same number. So because you're able to keep the original number, then this is identity property of addition. Okay, so that's the identity property in addition. Okay, so I would like you to try out this next few examples to identify what kind of property is being exhibited by these. All right, so you should end up with identity, property of multiplication, multiplication property of -1, and then this last example is commutative. So let's try to apply properties with mental calculation. So for example, in this case, you have movie tickets, $7.75, drink, $2.40, popcorn, $1.25. And we have to find the total cost of all the things that we are buying. So we have to use mental math. Now, if you're going to set up the equation for this, you know that you typically have it in order, right? You have $7.75 plus $2.40 plus 1.25. Now the nice thing of doing of using properties of real numbers is that you can group 775 and 125. Why? Because you know that 0.75 and 0.25, that will give you $1 already. So you can have this as 7.75 plus 1.25. And what property did you use here? Well, you can have, so that will be grouped, and you will have $2.40 here. So what did we use with changing 775 and 125? So 125 went over here on this side, so you used commutative property, okay? And with that, you're able to get this amount, and this is going to be $9, okay? And you have to add $2.40, and so you know that this is going to cost a total of $11.40. So by doing using the commutative property, you are able to easily get the sum of two numbers in here, okay? So same thing that you can try this one on your own. You have the signs over here. What will be the total cost for an adult, 2 children, and senior citizen that are going on a fishing trip? So go ahead, try this one out on your own. So you should be ending up with $110 for all of this. Why? If you set up your equation, this is how it would look like. But like I said, you can use commutative property to combine easily added items or numbers. So 33 and 27 can go together to give us 60. 2 times 25 is 50. That's quick. So that gives us 110. So this next examples, this time we are going to write equivalent expressions. So we need to simplify. Okay, so with this we have 5 times 3n. What we need to do is simply multiply 5 and 3 together. That's going to give us 15, and then keep the n as our variable. All right, 6xy divided by y. So in this scenario, what we can do is we have 6 times x times y, and you can see that you have a y over y, okay? And what is the value of y over y? And that's going to end up being simply equal to 1. And so if you have 6 times x times 1, you'll end up just getting the value, which is 6x, okay? So the next one, it will be 4 plus 7 plus 7b plus 8. So what you can do here with your properties, you can switch 8 and 7b, their position. So you can rewrite this as 4 plus 8 plus 7b, all right? And you can group this together for associative property, and this is now going to be 12 plus 7b. Okay, now I think I forgot to explain why this became 15. With this case, you can change the grouping. So instead of 3n being inside, it's gonna be 5 times 3 together with n. And so now that's why we got 15n. All right.